Welcome to Access to AI, a project established by myself, Omar Malik, to discuss, dissect, and challenge the ways in which AI is impacting disabled Brits. Today, we are delighted to be joined by Paul Ralph, a disabled traveller, reviewer, and inclusive tourism specialist, who is here to offer his expertise on AI tour guides and just how accessible they are. While tour operators might not be too savvy or keen to adopt generative AI to their businesses, the stats illustrate a different story. Whether they're actively utilising it for travel planning and bookings, or just expressing a keen interest in it, tourists are becoming very familiar with AI. But before we get into how AI has started to impact disabled travellers, Paul, what sparked your interest in the correlation between AI and disabled people?
I've always been interested in technology as an enabling tool for disabled people and as something that can empower disabled people. What we're seeing now is some of the technology, and in turn AI, has changed that balance over time. So there are now things that make life much easier, but it's not about that mainstream making it easier. It's actually opening and creating gateways for disabled people who are finding new ways of using these tools to discover things and to do things and to make things happen for them in their own lives.
Could you give an example, Paul, of a personal encounter comparing your direct experience with travel versus AI-led tour guides?
The wonderful Edinburgh Castle that sits in its volcanic hill in the centre of the city has several interesting features for disabled people that don't necessarily get talked about too much. When I decided to try an experiment and ask several AI engines, if you like, to tell me about the accessibility of Edinburgh Castle, it drew upon information it could find, whatever those sources might be, and it decided to tell me there were 3 entrances to the castle. The castle sits on its hill, there is only 1 entrance. There are 3 gateways. The way the artificial intelligence presents it, and it presents things in a very, very credible manner, makes it appear there are 3 separate ways you get into the castle. Nowhere in any of that research did it talk about accessible toilets. Nowhere in that did it talk about audio guides for visually impaired people. It didn't talk about braille tactile information as you go and see the Honours of Scotland. You know, there's so many nuances missing because those things weren't in sort of too much in the public domain. They do exist, but you've got to work a little to find them.
Paul, as someone who's acutely aware of public spaces and venues not catering to disabled people in terms of access and inclusion, could such businesses and organisations become better equipped at accessible rhetoric by utilising AI?
Venues, places and spaces aren't great at actually writing or publishing information about what they've got. Or just imagine, you feed all that raw data in to an AI system, and AI is able to collate it and present it and summarise it in a way that is meaningful, accessible and digestible to potential disabled visitors. Suddenly you open yourselves up to the 16.4 million disabled people in the United Kingdom that might actually want to come and see what you've got. So there's a thought, I'll leave that one with you.
Wayfinding can come with its challenges for disabled people, as despite on-the-whim travel being so elusive, sometimes the information about accessible routes in areas just isn't accurate or up-to-date. Can AI improve this dilemma in terms of navigation?
The whole notion of having something that's AI-fueled that can actually tell me about the fantastic accessible transport hub in Galashiels and the Scottish Borders, by way of example, where the trains come into a platform, you cross the road and there is a bus station. Inside that bus station, you have got a changing places toilet, accessible toilets, standard toilets and gender-neutral toilets. The cafe on site if you actually want to get refreshments. There's plenty of seating. The information screens, a lot of them are screwed to the ceiling, or it always feels like that to me as a wheelchair user, but there are information screens on a lower level. The signage is absolutely beautiful. The buses come into a rank. When the bus is ready for you to board, then there are doors to that particular bus rank and you can go on and get the bus. Wouldn't it be fantastic if there was an AI tool that can provide you with reinforcements in the sense of if you follow its instructions and follow its route, you can see pictures of places on the route, or you can have something else that actually confirms you have gone the right way and you are in the right place. So it's something about joining things up so they make sense and so they are easier. I mean, I can go on websites and I can find out about beautifully accessible holiday accommodation in lots and lots of places for lots of different disabled people and people with long-term conditions, etc. But typically, we don't go on holiday and sit in that one place for 7 days. We want to see what's in the environment around us. We want to plan to visit some of these places, and it's this information that we need. And I think there's something else that's added into that, in that we also want the what I call the humanistic approach. It's very good to be able to tell me that they've got an accessible toilet or a changing places toilet, it's wheelchair accessible, I can go on the tour, there are specific places that have been designed because I'm a wheelchair user that are easily accessible to me. That's great. But what if I turn up and the people don't know how to use the platform lift, the staff or the volunteers don't know how to use the platform lift, or they don't know something about the accessible, or we can't find the Braille interpretation guide that we can lend people, and we can't find the large print one, or we weren't trained and we didn't realise that there was another route that you can actually use as a person with a mobility impairment that is much easier but has an equally rich experience, albeit slightly parallel.
Now, Ewan's Guide has, for over a decade, been a nationwide leader in informing disabled people about accessible places. So, Paul, will the human lived experience and review always excel over AI as a way of checking for access?
Ewan's Guide is really powerful in that it tells you practical things, and reviewers will tell you some of the nuances that were important to them. And it can be things that are overlooked by the non-disabled publishers of information. It's those small pieces of information that make enormously big differences to the experience. And it's those negative experiences that we go away and we talk about, and we tell our pals and we go, oh gosh, it was nice, but the people were blooming awful because they didn't know how to do this, and this broke, or the toilet was out of action, and it looked as though it'd been out of action for 3 months, So there's lots of human pieces, and if AI can actually introduce some of this, then that is when the game will change.
Thanks for that, Paul. Your insight into AI tourism and the impact, for better or for worse, that this could have on disabled travellers was wholly thought-provoking. If Paul's know-how intrigues you, then please check out his newly published book, Access All Areas, Inclusive Tourism in Practice, which covers the issues raised in this video, but to even greater depths.